It is Friday, July 17th. Let's talk PlayStation. Hello everyone, starting off as always with our PlayStation Plus reminder, the July games that are currently available, that's Erica, NBA 2K20, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. You have plenty of time to download these games or add them to your library. Happy Ghost of Tsushima Day, everybody. The game is finally out, Sony's last major PS4 exclusive, and thankfully it's reviewed quite well. My gut reaction for a while was, maybe this will be another Days Gone, where it reviews, well, but also some mixed reviews, which I think that game's sitting around a 70-something on Metacritic. But this game pulled an 83, so very well received. A lot of people really enjoying this open-world epic from Sucker Punch. And more importantly, though, Japanese audiences also are really enjoying the game as well. So I think there was a big concern going into this where this game was... It's a Western-developed game, of course. It's focusing on a specific time period in Japan, Japanese customs. So I think there was a lot of pressure that Sucker Punch get this part of the game right. And so from what we're hearing from Japanese critics, the game isn't uncomfortable in any way. It's not out of the ordinary in terms of how they focused on Japanese customs, and so that's really great to hear. In fact, this is the third Western game to ever receive a perfect score from Famitsu. The other two games being The Elder Scrolls Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 5. Ironically, I know that's one that actually did also pull off a perfect score. But hopefully, if you are playing today, I hope you have a great time with the game. I will also be playing it for probably most of the day myself. Now here's a news story I never thought we'd actually have the pleasure of going over, and technically we won't be able to go over it the way we wanted it to, because earlier in the week we saw Tom Holland post on his Instagram account, Uncharted Day 1, hashtag Uncharted Day 1, posted a picture of his chair. It says Nate on it. We know that he's playing a young Nathan Drake, and then there's also a young Sully. It's kind of an origin Nathan Drake story. That's the synopsis of this film. So we all thought, yes, this movie's actually starting principal photography. No way. And then Sony Pictures stepped in and said, no, it hasn't started filming, but the film crews are prepping the set more or less, and that they're hoping to start filming very soon. So either way, though, I think it's close enough to where we can confidently say that the movie is starting until something gets in the way again. But for now, at least, it appears that the ball is really rolling on this film, and we might actually be able to see this movie when it comes out in, I think the new date was October 2021 for the release of this, so that'll be exciting. Moving on, if you remember last week, we were going over a leaked DualSense photo, and now we have a new one, so many people discussing, is it real? Is it fake? Well, who cares, because a few hours from now from the upload time of this video, Jeff Keighley will be hosting a live stream for his Summer Game Fest event that will showcase the DualSense controller hands-on, so it looks like he'll probably be playing Astrobot's Playroom. We don't know what the live stream looks like, but 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET, so a few hours from now. I upload this usually around 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard, so we won't be able to cover what is shown off in that live stream when I'm uploading this video. But it's great to see a real teaser footage of the controller in the flesh, right? That's what we've been saying, is that with these pictures, whether they're real or fake, it's nice to see the controller in a real-life environment. And so we've got some short teasers where he picks up the controller and just says, I have actually got the DualSense. Looks cool, right? So not much I can really add from this point in Let's Talk PlayStation, but I'm going to leave a link to the live stream down below so you don't miss it if you want to catch it when it does go live. Astrobot's Playroom is like that one game where it's preloaded on every single PS5. It's kind of a showcase of the DualSense features, which is hard to articulate, of course, because it's all about sensing and holding the thing. So I'm not sure how much coverage they can reasonably provide, but I'd imagine it's just that. No UI, no new game announcements, just a showcase of software that makes sense for the DualSense, like Astrobot's Playroom or Godfall. They're also using the features in a lot of creative ways, so that could potentially be there. But depending on what is shown, I highly doubt we'll need to do an additional update video for today on top of Let's Talk PlayStation. It is Jeff Keighley's hands-on after all, so he's just going to be describing what he's feeling with the controller. I don't think there's really going to be anything too revealing other than just having some nice footage of the controller in the flesh. Now, also from last week, we were discussing next-gen upgrades, and for the Xbox Smart Delivery list, there's still a few third-party games on there where we're waiting for the confirmation on the PlayStation side of things. Well, for the Ubisoft Way Forward event that was this past week, Ubisoft did confirm for a few of their games. Previously, we already knew about Watch Dogs Legion, but now we have confirmation for Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the formal reveal of Far Cry 6, which was previously leaked from the Hong Kong PlayStation Store, but that had its formal reveal during the Ubisoft Way Forward event. And all three of these games will be a free upgrade from PS4 to PS5. And actually, we also got a thorough explanation from Ubisoft's website about how this upgrade will look depending on what version of the game you buy. So I'll read that for you here. It says, for digital copies purchased on the Microsoft Store or PlayStation Store, you'll be able to download the upgraded version when it becomes available. For physical copies, you'll be able to download the upgraded version when it becomes available. the disc must be inserted to launch both the current gen and next gen versions of the game. Next gen upgrades are not available for physical versions of the game if you have upgraded to a discless console. It is also not possible to upgrade from a digital current gen edition to a physical next gen edition. Once you have completed the upgrade, you will still be able to play your game on your PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Pretty simple. Hopefully that clears things up for some people, but still nice to see. One thing I actually haven't mentioned about this whole upgrading fiasco is that, at the very minimum, this won't be much of an issue 2 years into PS5 and Series X and Series S, where most third parties will finally abandon the current generation machines. So I know it's very important right now to talk about next-gen upgrades, which a lot of them are turning out to be free, but even in a worst-case scenario, at a certain point, the games are always backwards compatible, but, there just won't be any more PS4 and X1 games to worry about getting upgraded, right? So, just something to consider. Next up, this isn't really major news, but on the official PlayStation website, the PS5 product page has officially updated, and now if you use the drop-down menu, you can actually see a silhouette of the PS5 console, alongside the row of icons for PS4, PSVR, PS Plus, the PlayStation Store, things like that. If you remember a while ago, a few months back, we had some fake leaks that showcased a PS5 design up on that list of icons, and so a lot of people thought that maybe the design of PS5 leaked by that way, which was pretty ridiculous at the time. But no, this is actually what the silhouette looks like on the main website, which it appears as though they're using the digital edition console, so that's pretty interesting. Other aspects of the site updated as well, so showcasing some games, more marketing spiel about all the features of PlayStation 5. But I will say, when it comes to that icon, this is what I've said for a while about the PS5 hardware design before it was revealed. Sony likes to make very stylized hardware. They very much go for something that's iconic and different alongside everything else, right? They want this thing to have a profile, something that stands out from other PlayStation hardware, but is still very iconic, and that silhouette just very much so, it sticks with you, it really does. For our next news story, we have a bunch of official PS5 product listings that have finally shot up on Amazon.com for specific territories. So Australia had a bunch of listings go up for not just PS5, but a bunch of accessories. That was relatively new. But also the US site, I believe the promotional page got updated, so it's actually been up for a little bit now. It's not separate product listings. A lot of people are getting this really confused because, of course, what transpired on Monday is a lot of people hoping that the PS5 price and release date rumor was going to be true, that Sony would reveal the price and release date on the PlayStation blog or something to that effect around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody was banking on that. A few product listings went up in Australia and a few other places, but some have been up for a while, and so everyone's been getting this confused and mixed up. I'm not even really sure which ones have been up and which ones haven't, but that's the problem, is that depending on the territory and depending on how long these pages have been live, there was the expectation that the Monday rumor was going to be true, which, if you remember last week, we did cover this rumor, and I said don't put too much stock into it. It was coming from one source. Now, granted, the Robert Serrano Twitter account got the PS5 reveal dates correct. It's just something where it's one source. Nobody else is talking about it. Nobody else is bringing it up. There's no other articles discussing it. A lot of major sites started to really pick up that story, but beyond that, there was nothing tangible saying that Sony was going to do it on Monday. So as of right now, all we have is product listings, and that's it. I mean, if you remember last week, we were talking about E3. That's, where we normally get price announcements for brand new hardware. But we're well beyond that point, right? We're in mid-July. It's uncharted waters, so who knows how this will play out. But realistically, what we're looking at here is Microsoft's rumored Lockhart event in August. You got to showcase that Series S box before you put a price on Series X. I think that makes a lot of sense, of course. So show the price lineup for both those consoles. With Sony, we saw the DualSense drop on the PS blog. We saw the very existence of PS5 drop on Wired.com. So it's not outside the realms of impossibility that we'll get price and release date on the PlayStation blog, for example. But we do have a rumored August state of play. There's still a lot that we don't know about PS5, so that makes sense to put that in the August event. I know a lot of people still like to play into this whole price standoff thing between Sony and Microsoft, but it really doesn't work like that. I mean, yes, price is like the one area where there's a little bit of last-minute steer, but even then, there's a major implication on dropping the price even by $50 last minute. That's billions of dollars we're talking about. So both Sony and Microsoft have a general idea of the price target that they want to get to, and at this point, there's just not much they can reasonably do, so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, if we actually dial back for a second and go to the product listings, I believe the only one is Amazon Germany that actually puts a weight on PlayStation 5, which is 4.78 kilograms, or about 10.5 pounds. I know many people are thinking that that's probably the box, so everything that comes with PlayStation 5 shipped to you. But that very likely is the actual console, considering that we know it's a very large machine already. And PlayStation 3, the original fat PlayStation 3, is still the champion in this regard if PS5 is 10.5 pounds, because the original launch PS3 was an 11-pound monster. So either way, these are both very large, heavy platforms, and you better start working out if you want to pull this thing out of the box this holiday. For our next news story, we've got a new report out of Bloomberg, and this one stating that Sony is looking to up PS5 manufacturing from about 5 million consoles to 10 million, mostly to meet the demand this holiday season, but also going into the first quarter of 2021. About 5 million consoles will be finished by September, and then an additional 5 million will be done between anywhere from October to December, and that allocation might be more so for that first quarter of 2021. Also hearing DualSense production up as well, not just for controllers packed into the box, but also additional ones that will be sold separately. The cited reason is that because people are indoors, people are more inclined to buy video games, and that is what we're seeing right now. Revenue across the board for the games industry is up, so despite people falling on hard times, more people are buying video games, and that's with us being in the late life cycle of PS4, Xbox One, and even Switch, where Switch is about halfway into its life cycle. So, very encouraging, considering that about 3 months ago, back in April, there was another Bloomberg report that actually stated Sony was looking to manufacture about 5 to 6 million PlayStation 5s for the same time frame. Now, to put this into perspective with PS4, Sony sold about 4.2 million PS4s by the end of 2013, so from launch to the end of the year, and then they sold worldwide total 7 million consoles by that first quarter. Now that's shipped and sold to consumers, so they obviously manufactured a little bit more than 7 million. So with what we heard in April, it actually sounded as though there would be less PS5 availability from what we had with PlayStation 4. So not alarming, it's not a huge reduction, but certainly one that you might actually feel if you're worried about not getting a console on day one. Now from 5 to 10 is very aggressive. Even when you consider that half of that is more for next year, 5 million ready by day one is a lot, or at least for that month and a half that it's available for the rest of 2020, whereas PS4, again, 4.2 million consoles from November 15th to the end of 2013. So if you really line it up perfectly, we're looking at about 800,000 more PS5s available versus PlayStation 4, which is more, although it might not be something that you'll really feel or notice considering that it's a new hardware launch. So whether PS5 was super expensive or cheap, or whether it sucks or it's great, same with Series X and Series S, all these consoles are going to fly off the shelves. It's a brand new hardware launch. It's exciting. So you're still going to want to be there day one to order one to make sure that you don't miss out, or the next day for any local retailers that you want to go visit to place a pre-order. That's still very crucial, and you'll definitely want to do that. But from what it sounds like, the availability might be more favorable this time around, which is good, although concerning in the sense that from 5 to 10 in such a short amount of time, I would be worried about QA, the quality assurance. I would want to make sure that all those consoles are properly inspected, just like they would have if it was from 5 to 6 million, jumping from 10, very aggressive. There's also the case to be made that when you have higher volume orders, right, you're lowering the cost of manufacturing. So of course, a lot of people are also discussing the price of the platform again. Now, PS5 and Series X, they're still going to be very expensive to make, so I don't think this would help Sony all that much, although they might feel more confident going into releasing it at whatever price point they've already set. Time is going to bring the cost down more than anything when it comes to Sony, and it's something where whatever they set day one is a really big deal, because if they set it too low on day one, then they have to eat so much more money up until they reach a break even, whereas if they priced it at something that was more comfortable for them, for a loss that they were willing to take, then they can more quickly get to that profitability over time when the price to manufacture the machine comes down. And of course, you'll still see revisions and things like that for what makes it more favorable, not only on Sony's end, but also your end in terms of power consumption or slight internal changes. But either way, what we're looking at is a slight increase in availability for launch compared to PS4, and then going into that first quarter, actually much more availability, because 7 million PS4s by the end of March 2014, whereas this could potentially look like 10 million in terms of consoles actually being ready to go, right? The real problem here is shipping all the consoles overseas. That's why that second 5 million would probably in all likelihood not be ready for day one. Anyway, moving on to our next news story, we've got some new comments from Xbox head Phil Spencer, where he's once again defending the company's decision to keep supporting Xbox One for about 2 years, right into the life cycle of Series X. They've been pretty forward about this. Their first-party games will be on Xbox One and Series X. They're highly encouraging that. Even their box art is just going into this somewhat place of ambiguity where it's just Xbox as a platform, and there's separate labels for what consoles that game is natively supported on. And so you'll get Xbox One, Xbox Series X. There's room in there for the Series S label, optimized for Xbox One X. It's a busy piece of box art, but it thoroughly explains what's available. And so Microsoft's been defending these decisions, and Phil had a few things to say to GameIndustry.biz and even commenting on Xbox Newswire. So some interesting quotes here where he says, "We should applaud load times and fidelity of scenes and frame rate and input latency and all these things that we focused on with the next generation, but that should not exclude people from being able to play. That's our point. How do we create an ecosystem where if you want to play an Xbox game, we're going to give you a way to play it?" Sorry, I am a bit soapboxy with this one. Gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives, and I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is going to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about. Now, I've said this for a while, but I love Phil Spencer. I mean, he's done some amazing things with Xbox. I love how candid and how open he is in his conversations. He says things that you'd never hear somebody from Sony say, and that's great, but this is a pretty bad take in that he's just leaving himself open for so much backlash and irony, because that's exactly what a lot of these comments are, is just complete irony in terms of what the console model typically is, what is expected, what consumers are totally fine with. In fact, what consumers often want from next-gen hardware is all these brand new games that, in theory, from a marketing standpoint, hey, these games can only work on this new hardware, and here's all these pretty graphics for you. I mean, that's something consumers are used to and something that they actually want. And, granted, he wasn't really part of these decisions back in the day with Xbox's history, but Xbox has certainly partaked in this business model, not just in terms of hardware leaps, but timed exclusivity, timed exclusive content. It's part of the business. And so to try and make some of these statements, I think is just a bad look, because you're very easily painting yourself. You're painting a pretty big target on your head, and that's exactly what's happening as these comments are coming out. So it's not like what he's saying here is wrong or counteractive to what Microsoft's trying to do. I mean, it's all accurate. It's just a bad take, or a bad way to present it, rather. Instead of calling out competition or calling out all these practices that you've very much been a part of, it probably would have been better to just say, here's all these great things that we're now changing about our model, and here's why it's so much better. Like, that to me probably would have played out in a much more favorable position than what is currently happening right now. So with all that out of the way, it's time to get to Let's Talk Plus, the weekly Let's Talk PlayStation giveaway, where one of you could win a $10 PSN code. I'd like to congratulate this viewer right here. I'll be contacting you very soon via email or Twitter. If you would like to win a $10 PSN code, very easy. Follow the link down below. Supporting this channel in a number of ways can gain you an entry, and I'll announce the winner next week, because I'm trying to pay for your games. Those are all the news stories that I want to talk about with you all. Our Tuesday topic was PlayStation 5 Pro. Will we actually get mid-cycle updates? Some recent comments from Albert Panilla, formerly of Xbox, EA, Sega, made some good points as to why we might not actually see mid-cycle consoles, so check out that conversation. And as always, we'll have another Tuesday video ready for you that may be some random topic. You never really know what you're going to get. That's it, though. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you all next Friday.